Some of the most compelling portraits are created with one simple light, and I'm going to show you how to create classic portraits like this using one of my favorite lighting setups. The main elements we're concerned with here are a light source, which can be flash, a studio light, or a constant light source, a light stand, a translucent lighting umbrella, a backdrop or the background area, and a subject. Okay, here's the top view of my lighting setup. Here's where I'm placing the subject, and for this shot I've positioned a single light about 45 degrees to one side of my subject. In this case, I'm using a standard flash unit and a white translucent umbrella. And notice that I'm shooting the flash through the umbrella as opposed to bouncing it out of the umbrella. I also have it slightly above the subject's head and pointed down at about 45 degrees. This gives me the classic 45-45 lighting position as a good starting point. Using the umbrella or a softbox makes the light appear larger and more diffuse, because without the umbrella, the light would have been too harsh for the look I was trying to achieve. For my setup, I'm using a Canon 580 EX2 flash set to manual mode at 1/8 power. In this case, I'm triggering the flash wirelessly with a set of Pocket Wizard radio triggers. I have the light stand positioned so that the surface of the umbrella is about 3 feet or 1 meter from the subject's head. I like to try for a variety of angles during a portrait session, but I usually start here, where the light is clearly coming in from the side. Now here's a list of my settings. I've got my camera on manual mode, my ISO is at 100, aperture is at f4, and shutter speed is 1/250th of a second. These are my typical settings for this type of shot, and from here I'll make any adjustments if necessary. These settings are going to vary, of course, based on the light source and other factors. Now with the subject in place, I'll take a test shot to see if the exposure looks good. I want the subject to look in the general direction of the camera for the test shots, and the main things I'm trying to look out for at this point are hot spots. These are overexposed areas that can be difficult to repair later, so I want to make sure I'm not overexposing any part of the face. If that's happening, I'll usually adjust the light power setting or increase the distance between the light and the subject a little. If the exposure is too dim, I can either open up the aperture a bit or increase the ISO or increase the light's power or do a combination of the three. Now, one thing I want you to notice here is the visibility of the background. When you have only one light source, increasing the distance between the background and the light causes the background to become darker. A completely dark background is often what you want in a dramatic portrait, but in this case I wanted some sense of background to the shot. So when I want to change the way the background is showing up in a one light shot, I'll either move the backdrop closer to the subject or ask the subject to move back toward the backdrop. Once my lighting, camera settings, subject, and background are all in place, all that's left to do is work with my subject in order to get a variety of lighting angles, poses, and expressions.